Hello and welcome to the ChinnyVision Easter Q&A. I am out at Calshot, near Calshot Castle, overlooking the Solent. Yeah, this is the last ChinnyVision before Easter. So I asked ChinnyVision's Patreon supporters, the people who kindly buy me coffee and basically fund old tat for me to review on the channel, to pose me some questions. So we've got several here, so let's get on with it. Philip asks, I've never played an Amstrad CPC game. This needs to be rectified. Which model CPC would you recommend? And what's the best CPC games? I'd recommend a Amstrad CPC 6128 because it's generally the easiest to run all the games on. It's got a built-in disk drive. Probably need to replace the belt if you buy one. You can plug a tape recorder into it to play tape games. And critically, it's got a disk interface built in, so you can plug in an HXC to run disk images. Of course, there are Wi-Fi solutions available for the 464 these days as well, and a disk interface. But generally speaking, of course, the 6128 still got that 128K of RAM. Basically, lets you do everything. You can get a 464 much cheaper. I picked one up the other day with a French keyboard for £6. But it's got 64K and a built-in tape drive and no disk interface unless you buy a dedicated disk interface or put the Wi-Fi adapter on there. So that's my recommendation, a 6128 really. Question from Sean French as some people walk past looking at me like I'm some kind of weirdo. Yeah, hello mate, I'm not weird, honestly. Sean French, I have two C64Cs and one that has a really quiet SID chip on certain channels. When playing the intro music from Turbo Outline, I only get drums and part of the melody. You're still looking at me. I mean, okay, I'm wearing headphones and holding a microphone, but even so. The rest is very quiet. Is there a SID replacement job on the C64C to play the music fine? I'm not an expert on C64Cs. The best person to ask is the feature is 8-bit. But I believe, yes, because the thing about the SID chips is there's lots of different revisions of them. So it's kind of a bit pot luck, especially with the C64C, what you're going to get. So I'd personally consult either Rod if he's got time, or ask on Lemon 64 for which revision of SID chip you need. Mark asks, you can only choose one, choose wisely. CPC Speccy or C64 or CPC, Master System or NES. I choose the Master System there. Game Boy, Game Gear or Lynx. I choose the Lynx and chose the Lynx there. So far, this is all stuff I've chosen in real life. Because I chose the CPC, I chose the Master System, I chose a Lynx because they're all the ones I have. Amiga or ST, Amiga again. That's one I chose. Mega Drive or SNES, Mega Drive again. One I chose. Saturn, N64, PlayStation. Saturn probably, although I'm not really particularly drawn between any of those. Dreamcast or GameCube or PS2 or Xbox. Dreamcast. Dreamcast is the one I choose there. Alistair Walker, do you feel there's revisionism as to the relative popularity of 8-bit? Going to stop a second. I can start again now. The man's gone. Okay, I do look a bit weird here, but never mind. Okay, Alistair Walker, do you think that there is revisionism as to the relative popularity of 8-bit computers versus console systems in a market like the UK? Yes, the winners write history. The consoles eventually won. Also, with the advent of the internet, of course, we get all the American version of events over here, i.e. there was a computer games crash and it was saved by the NES, which of course was an irrelevance in the UK. And yeah, we had the Spectre, Amstrad, Commodore 64, BBC Micro, and then the ST and Amiga, and they were all big here. And that's when you went into a shop. That is what you saw on the shelves, either to buy or buy the games for. This whole kind of NES save the world thing is very American centric. He also asks, was there never a major Benet? Also, why was there never a Major Benet supermarket management simulation? Well, that's because Major Benet ran a small supermarket on the Channel Islands, who did his own local TV adverts over there and became very famous and has become a bit of an internet sensation. But I don't think that there was much appeal outside the Channel Islands, although, of course, we could rebrand Super Trolley, now the disgraced Jimmy Savile is featured in that game, so we could have Major Benet's super trolley. Someone could skin that. And what form would a triangle game take? Well, let's before we answer the triangle question, let's go on to Mike Smith, who says, "Hey Chinny, I get the impression from your Twitter you love a bit of cult TV. Here's my question: would you ever cover them on the channel, i.e. Doctor Who, Howard's Way, and Triangle?" Well, we are overlooking the Solent. Over there, if you can see my finger, somewhere around there, is a bit more that way actually, is the River Hamble where Howard's Way was shot, and behind me is Fawley Power Station with the chimney that you can often see in the episodes, when they're, especially when they're doing speedboat stuff, because that's Southampton Water over there. So they would have been all over here for Howard's Way. So yeah, Doctor Who games. Yeah, we must do Dalek Attack and thing at some time. I mean, on the other channel, on ChinnyVision 2, which I need to draw attention to, because there is another channel, I just do kind of weird stuff and stuff that isn't relevant from main ChinnyVision. And over there, I've done things like cover an episode of Triangle and talk over it and stuff. And there'll be a bit of stuff over there. So subscribe to ChinnyVision 2 if you want a bit more kind of cult TV and weird stuff and just poking around inside machines without any kind of polish or anything like that. And of course, Alistair asked, what form would a Triangle game take? Well, Triangle was a soap opera based on a North Sea ferry that sailed between Felixstowe, Amsterdam and Gothenburg, starring Kate O'Mara in the first series, but she jumped ship at the end of the first series, and there were 2 more series. It's hilariously bad, ambitious but bad. The game would surely take the form of sailing between Felixstowe, Amsterdam and Gothenburg. And I can, oh, there goes the catamaran going across. We'll see that in a second, I think. And probably just feature Larry Lamb trying to seduce Kate O'Mara, I would imagine. Trouble is, Triangle slightly predates. It's 81, isn't it? 81, 82, 83. Predates home computer kind of revolution, just the start of it. So no chance of kind of anyone ever producing a game of that. Matthew Scott, what game did you see released on other platforms that didn't get an Amstrad release that really annoyed you as a kid? No Toki or Chase HQ 2 for the GX4000, I guess. Toki could have been quite good. It was, I think they completed level 1 but ran out of memory, and Ocean ditched the cartridge because it was going to take too much space in the cartridge, and Chase HQ 2 turned out to be rubbish. So, yeah. Richard Shaw Wright asks, what's your favourite crap game? You see, the problem is games that we regard are perfectly fine, people today probably regard as a bit rubbish. I mean, I like some of the Amsoft catalogue that aren't actually terribly good but have fond memories. But most of it is rubbish. Especially the rolling games. They're not particularly good, but they're quite nostalgic. Even things like Bridget, which are demonstrably rubbish, you kind of look at the screen and go, oh, I remember playing this. So yeah, it's a lot of the stuff we play is a bit rubbish, to be honest, but we all like these games. Richard also asks, what TV series would you love to have played a game of? Well, since we're out here, why not Howard's Way? We could have speedboat racing. You could have sailboat racing, speedboat racing, waggle the joystick while Ken Masters entertains a lady. All sorts of things. I mean, you could think about EastEnders had got a game which was terrible. All those kind of 80s caching games that you got. Why couldn't you have a Howard's Way game? Or a decent Doctor Who game? Why couldn't there be a decent Doctor Who game? Or again, Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt, great TV series. The game version is rubbish. So much you could do with that as a game, and just absolutely botch the game for home computers. Tim asks, what's a game you really like but everyone else seems to hate? Oh, that's a difficult question. That's a really difficult question. Because it's not kind of, it's never black and white these days, because you always find somebody who likes a game that you like. And other people turn around and say some games are rubbish, and that's probably the hardest question I've ever been asked. What's the game you really like but everyone else seems to hate? And I just can't think of anything at the moment. There's games I liked at the time that turned out to be rubbish, but I I just can't think of anything at the moment. I'm sorry, Tim, I just can't think. I'll post it on Twitter or down below if I can think of something. I'm trying to open the second page of my script. About halfway now, if anyone's losing the will to live. Lord Kern, hi Jenny, love the show. Sounds like Steve right in the afternoon. Thanks for helping respark an interest in old games and for treating them as things to play for fun and enjoyment rather than historical curiosities. We talk a lot about lost episodes of old TV shows and missing films. Are there any games that have been lost to history? How well are we preserving this heritage? Well, we always the missing in action games. Spectrum users used to kind of look for. We're quite something, you know, they're games that we know are lost. There's some games like Toki that we mentioned that were in development that we don't have, and there's a C64 page. Actually, there's a whole website devoted to games that have been in development and lost. Games that have been released and lost are harder because actually most stuff is now generally available, and I know there's a few things listed on the Spectrum, for example, as missing in action. But there's nothing kind of obvious. It's not like, oh look, there are 90 odd episodes missing of Doctor Who. We haven't lost all of Ocean's games or kind of ditched half of them or something. It's not quite as clear cut as old TV. Lord Kern also asked, how well do we do at preserving our gaming heritage? I think we're doing quite well. The concern is if any big sites go down, we could lose a lot of stuff in one go, but we've got places like archive.org that now have repositories for entire systems available as a downloadable image. The whole world of Spectrum mess has been terrifying because that's a fantastic archive, and just see it run into the ground for the sake of a few egos has been maddening. And we've had CPC sites that have come and gone and all sorts. I think if you've got these sites, you need to share around your archive, because you can't just make it so it's just you, because if your server goes down, you lose everything, or someone gets run down in an accident or something, you could lose the whole lot. There's someone, for example, there's a CPC site I won't name that watermarks all its fantastic selection of images it's got on there, which is madness because you're altering the originals, and anyway, you don't have the copyright to use that stuff. So what's the big deal in saying, oh, anybody can just download it? But if that site goes down, then all that fantastic archive's lost. And he's probably got all the originals, or she, I don't know who it is, has got all the originals. So yeah, I mean, if you run a site, share it around, let other people use your archive. By all means, kind of, you know, protect your front end, but since you don't own the copyright on this stuff anyway, why are people so protective, and just the general pain in the backside of our world of Spectrum, and just the egos and the wanting to give them all a good slap, basically, in the nicest possible way, he says, to try and make it sound a bit better. Steve Green, if money was no object, which system that you haven't got would you get for the channel? Right, for the channel, I would... Well, if money was no object, I'd have an MSX Turbo R imported from Japan, but you're looking at about 300 quid to get that in, really, aren't you? Because it's about £150 to buy it, then probably another £70 to ship it, and then VAT on top of that, and then you wouldn't have that much stuff to run on it anyway. The Archimedes is the big thing for the channel. We desperately need one, because people ask for it again and again and again. And I bought one, and the inside was all rot. So I'm saving up the Patreon money, and when there's a decent chunk there, I'm gonna have a word with the guys on Stardot and see if they can help me source a decent Archie that's actually usable out of the box and isn't going to be a motherboard full of rot, that preferably has some kind of modern SD card storage on it, because that's the one everyone asks for. Get some Archimedes coverage going. Steve also asks, are there any systems you have that you don't use or capture from because they need AV mods? Atari 7800. I've got a really good one, all boxed up, loads of games. It only has UHF. I don't want to wreck it because it's in really good nick. I need to do an AV mod for it, but I'm just a bit kind of like, it's one of those things I'll leave for another day. Like, I must get a membrane for my A600 as well. That's been waiting a year because we need that for the channel as well, because I only bought that thing to be able to review games at original speed, so I need to sort that out. He also asked which systems don't cost much but you shied away from because of said modding. Nothing really. Dragon, I suppose. There's nothing really in terms of major. I think we've got all the major systems covered pretty much, apart from the Archimedes, and that's probably not really a major system. So Jonathan Holt says, which 8 games would you take to a desert island, i.e. desert island discs? And I wrote this one down because I had to think about it long and hard. And I thought the criteria is games you've got to be able to play for a while. If you're on a desert island, you're going to get bored very quickly, so it's no good taking quick snacks on the CPC, which is a superb game, but you can complete it in 25 minutes and that's it. So I take Populous on the Amiga, a game I'm trying to play at the moment and review for the channel, because that's fantastic. Rana on the CPC, because I've played it for years, never completed it, and you can spend hours playing it. Frontier Elite 2 on the Amiga, because you can go on forever for that, and it's superb. Sorcery Plus on CPC, because I always promised myself I would complete it, even though I'm not as good as it as I was when I was a kid. Sensible Soccer, it'd probably take the 93-94. Sensible Soccer 93-94, I think. So you can play that for days. Also Football Premier Manager, because I played that for days on the Amiga when I originally had it. Got to take a Dizzy game, so take Dizzy Prince of the Yoke Folk, also on the Amiga. Best Dizzy game by far. And a final game, Head Over Heels on the CPC, because it's quite wonderful. Final question. Rob asks, how do you feel about projects like the C64 Reloaded or Just Specky designing new boards for classic micros which still use the original chips but are designed for better energy use and maintainability? Do you think they're a viable step in helping keep the classic machines running in the short term, or just a headache and the inevitable failure of all these machines? Well, the thing is, I mean, we can repair most of our old machines. It's the custom chips and things that are the problems. And I can, if people want to use these boxes, even things like the new Specky and stuff like that, fair enough. And I don't see much appeal. These machines aren't rare at the moment. You can get most of the parts. Well, certainly I've kept spares, because the channel I've got more machines than I need, because I'm just frightened that something might blow up and I need a spare CPC. I mean, no one needs 3 464s. I don't really need any 464s, but I kind of got them for the channel. Yeah, it's. I suppose all this stuff's good. I'm glad no one's done a new version of the CPC, because having a look at these other versions, these clones and things, they kind of don't inspire confidence. Although I was listening to the Retro Hour and listening to the Oliver twins speak about the new Spectrum, and they're the first people who enthused me. So another person looking at me like I'm weird. Thanks for your support on the channel. Thanks to Patreon people for sending in the questions. Thanks for their support as well and helping keep the channel going and buying me coffee and general stuff. ChinnyVision's off next week, not here Easter Friday, Good Friday, but back the following week. So we're back 2 weeks today. Have a fantastic Easter. Have a fantastic Easter. Oh look, big ship over there. Big ship. You can see a big ship. Well, I know I'm pointing to it. Have a fantastic Easter, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Cheers.